Hi there, you're listening to the Estranged Heart podcast, and I'm your host, Kreed Revere. Welcome back to our returning listeners, and if this is your first time here, thank you for selecting this podcast to listen to. As we begin today's episode, I invite you to grab a cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and listen with an open heart. But first, the regular disclaimer. I am not a licensed therapist or counselor. Nothing within this podcast should be considered or taken as therapy. If you are in need of therapeutic support such as counseling, please seek out a therapist near you. Hi there. Welcome back to the Estranged Heart. Before we dive into today's episode, let's begin with a few reminders and announcements. As a reminder, the podcast episodes will begin being released on Wednesdays starting in October. So that's our anniversary month. I've been talking for a while now about things new and different things coming in the month of October, and this is one of those things. So the main episode will be released on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, and there will be some other mini episodes that'll be released throughout the weeks forthcoming as well. But just as a reminder, that starts October 2nd. So you'll have today's episode, next week's episode on Sundays, and then thereafter they will be on Wednesdays. As a reminder, the current 8-week support groups for estranged moms and recently reconciled moms is in progress. If you are interested in joining the groups in November, please let me know for another round of 8 weeks. Those groups will be just in time to get you through the holidays, through November, December, and the very first part of January. So if you're interested in joining those groups, please let me know. Send me an email, theestrangedheart@gmail.com. And if you're interested in attending the validation workshop, learning what validation is, learning what invalidation is, this is the communication superpower I talk about all the time. If you're interested in joining that workshop, please let me know. Send me an email, theestrangedheart@gmail.com. And that workshop will be on Sunday, October 13th from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. It will not be recorded, and that is for confidentiality reasons. My workshops, webinars, things such as that are very interactive, and I want people to feel safe in being open and vulnerable and sharing things that they need to share so that they can learn and grow and heal. So if you're interested, I'd love to have you. Drop me an email. Okay, on to today's episode, which is titled Broken Trust, How to Rebuild It. And before we get started, a quote for today. Trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It's the foundational principle that holds all relationships. That is by Stephen Covey. So today we're tackling the very difficult topic of broken trust that is in every estrangement and estrangement experience. And it's the piece that is most important to repair and rebuild for reconciliation. So let's dive into this today. As with any relationship on the planet, right? Any relationship you have with another human being, trust is involved. If you are to be sharing anything really, even if it's on a superficial level, right? You have to have a bit of trust to be able to sit and converse with someone that they're not going to attack you and they're not going to beat you up and things like that, right? But then to get to anything deeper, on a deeper level, to have deep conversations and to be open and vulnerable and share a piece and parts of ourselves, we must have trust that the person we are speaking to can be a safe space for us. And when I say safe space, what I am generally talking about is, and throughout the rest of this podcast episode, is emotional safety. Okay. So when trust is broken, it can feel like a very, very deep wound, and that it's difficult to heal. Reestablishing trust is absolutely critical if reconciliation is going to take place. And it's also one of the most challenging steps in the reconciliation process. Oftentimes, parents don't understand why an adult child does not trust them. They, mm, they often ask me, I don't understand. I mean, I've never harmed my child, so why wouldn't they trust me? And quite frankly, it's not a physical trust, it's that emotional piece. Okay, so we'll talk about how it happens and how we can repair it in today's episode. So it trust is the building block when it comes to a connection with another person. And when we do not trust, that connection is oftentimes diminished, if not severed. And this is what you're seeing in an estranged relationship, whether that's parent and adult child, whether it's siblings, what have you. It's because an emotional trust is has been broken. So it's the foundation. Trust is the foundation of every relationship, and without it, communication breaks down, emotional connection becomes fragile, and everybody feels disconnected. Um, it's at the core of separation in parent and adult child relationships, and those parties, both the parent and the adult child, at different times and for different reasons, can feel betrayed, misunderstood, abandoned, or rejected. And that makes it very difficult when you have those feelings to want to reconnect. So, for parents, that broken trust generally comes after the estrangement has occurred, when they're feeling unappreciated for all they've done for their child. And let me just say, as a side note here, I've said it before, you know, providing the basic necessities of life were things that were our responsibility as parents. Food on the table, roof over the head, clothes on the back. Those are our responsibilities as parents, and our children don't need to have an appreciation for that. It's lovely if they do, but it's not necessary. And to make them feel that it's an expectation or what have you is going to further erode trust. Okay. And for the children, the adult children, trust may have been broken through, let's say, actions and words that they've experienced, such as emotional um, invalidation and um, potentially from a lack of follow through on agreements, right? Not keeping your word, basically. So both parties end up in the end, once they're in estrangement, feeling, can I ever really trust the other person again? So, some of the common reasons why trust can break down is emotional neglect. And I want to say, I understand the word neglect is a trigger word for most parents, but if we did not provide something, it's something that is needed, and human beings need emotional connection. Um, so if those emotional needs were not met, it is neglect. I neglected my children in this way. I understand what it feels like, and meaning to have this thrown at you from your children. When I first thought about it, heard about it, I was like, I, I completely blown away. The more I got curious about what was happening with my kids, why we were where we were at, and my own childhood, then I began to understand. And then I had to take accountability for that. Another reason why trust can be broken is the broken promises, like mentioned, not following through with what you said you were going to do. I also did that with my children. I would agree to take them here or go to this event or that type of thing, and then would be too tired. I didn't want to go. And so I would always back out. So those are things. And, for kids, it doesn't matter to them that you've worked, 3 16-hour shifts back to back and you're exhausted and all you want to do is just sit on a sofa and not have anybody talk to you, right? They don't understand that. So again, broken promises, lack of accountability. When parents are unable or unwilling to take accountability for, like I just said, past words that have hurt my children, it it says to the child that their pain isn't acknowledged, and then that further erodes trust. And controlling or a lack of boundaries. If a parent tries to control the adult child's decisions, are you sure you want to make that decision? Are you sure what about this? And, having that underlying, I don't trust you, I don't believe you, I don't think you can do this tone to controlling their decision making process, or not respecting their boundaries. It can create feelings of resentment and, in the end, mistrust. So these all contribute to the breakdown of trust, and without addressing them, the relationship remains strained. Okay. Um, what do adult children need in order to rebuild trust? Right. For many parents, and I get this in my work in the estrangement world, is how do I get my child to trust me again? And the answer isn't easy, but it starts with understanding what your child truly needs in order to rebuild that trust. And then it takes a few other things, such as time and patience. So, the first thing they need, in my opinion, is validation. We all want to be seen, heard, and validated for our experiences and our feelings, not necessarily our words, and not our behaviors, but our feelings and experiences. They need consistency. Trust is built through reliable and consistent actions over time. Do what you say you're going to do every single time. Okay. Um, and when parents can show that they're dependable and emotionally available with that consistency, that helps to rebuild trust. Accountability, taking responsibility for past mistakes, is a key to rebuilding trust. If I mean, all of you are, as am I, a human parent. And by design, it means you are not perfect. It means you made mistakes as a parent. So you must take accountability for those mistakes. Regardless of whether or not your intentions were good and pure, the impact had different results. And that's what has to be addressed. Okay. And empathy. Adult children need to feel that you're willing to empathize with their emotional experience, even if it's uncomfortable for you. Okay. This goes so far. I cannot tell you how far it goes when your adult child feels that you can see, hear their experiences without justifying and defending and over explaining all of the reasons why you did or didn't do something. So, what are some of the steps for parents to begin rebuilding trust? And I get this question often. And what I say to parents is, because they're also asking, well, if they're not in my life, how can I rebuild trust? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you can begin rebuilding trust in before they ever come back into your life. Number one, you start practicing with everybody you know but them, right? So all the things that you're learning about trust, how to rebuild it, why it's needed, why it's important, you start running through that through the filter of all of your relationships. And then you begin with your adult child, if there's any sort of contact, by implementing all of these things, regardless of the level of contact. Okay. So number one, start with accountability. We make apologies and send amends letters. We accept our and take accountability. Um, we have to take responsibility for our part in the breakdown of the relationship. It as you all know, it's incredibly difficult because it requires vulnerability and humility. And if you're not willing to step up to the plate with those two things, it's not going to go well. Um, Acknowledging where things went wrong and being specific about your role helps your adult child to feel seen and validated. Okay. Um, it's something as simple as, I realize now that I didn't listen to you the way you needed me to, and I'm sorry for that. Okay. Consistent small actions. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight. It's a slow process that requires consistent small actions that show you are committed to change. So through follow through on promises, respecting boundaries, being emotionally available when your child reaches out. The goal isn't to fix everything at once, but to create a pattern of reliability that your adult child can trust. Okay. Give space and time. This is one of the hardest things for parents to do, is giving their child space and time to process repair. Um, Trust doesn't return the moment that you say you're sorry and you take responsibility or accountability. Your adult child may need time to observe your actions before they feel ready to trust again, and giving them that space and not rushing the process will assist in that tenfold. So, and open and honest communication moving forward, being very clear and honest in your communication, and deeply listening. Um, and when I say honest, it doesn't necessarily mean honest in that you get to, lay out all of your feelings and thoughts on the table and that kind of thing. That time can come, but it generally comes much later in the reconciliation process. Okay. And I want to say this just too, real quick. I see a lot of parents I kind of liken it to a married couple who has gone through infidelity, right? Partner A has had an affair. Partner B is, traumatized, and they end up deciding they're going to go to counseling to try to work things out. And 3 months into this, partner A is no longer in contact with the other person they were having an affair with. They've been, at home all the time. Their phone is accessible to their partner, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and so they're sitting in the counselor's office 3 months in, and partner A says to partner B, "What is your problem? God, this has been going on for 3 months. I have done everything you've asked me to do. I've done it all. And you still don't trust me. What is it going to take? How long is this going to take? Are you going to punish me forever?" And partner B says, "Oh my God, you don't have a clue. This is going to take a very long time." And what I hear are parents who sound like partner A, and the adult children sound like partner B. So the parent is saying, "Oh my gosh, I've taken accountability. I've said I'm sorry. I don't talk to you the way that I used to anymore, but my God, how long is this going to take? When can I actually talk to you on the phone instead of sending these emails back and forth? When are you going to let me come over and see the grandkids? It's been 3 months. What's the problem? And the adult child is saying, oh my God, you don't get it. It's going to take some time and a lot of it. Patience. Practice the pause. It's crucial. Okay. So, how do we know if trust is being rebuilt? Parents ask me, how do I know if they're trusting me? How do I know if I'm working on it and doing all the right things? And some of the signs that I let them know is there's an increase in openness. If your adult child begins to share more about their life, their emotions, their experiences with you, it's a sign they're starting to feel emotionally safe. um, a willingness to engage. If your child is more open to having conversations or spending time with you, it shows they're feeling more comfortable and trusting you again. If they have lowered their defenses, if interactions between you and them become less defensive and more understanding, it's also a sign that trust is being restored. And a mutual respect of boundaries. If you're respecting their boundaries and communicating with them, it's a clear sign that there is trust is being rebuilt. So there are those things. Um, I've learned as a mom, as a formerly estranged mom, as a reconciled mom, um, and as a coach, working with estranged parents and being a part of the reconciliation processes for a lot of families. This trust piece is everything. If your adult child doesn't trust you, you're not going to have a relationship with them. You might have a superficial relationship with them where you can, hey, how are you doing? How's the job going? You know, how is the weather where you're living? Conversations, but you're not going to have deeply meaningful and connected interactions with your adult child if they do not trust you. Okay? So it is imperative. It is one of the biggest pieces of the reconciliation process, and it doesn't stop once your child begins to talk to you again. This is an ongoing process. I have been reconciled now for almost 7 and 8 years, and I still, to this day, am working on maintaining the trust that my girls have in me once again. I don't let it go. Okay. So, again, to kind of recap, rebuilding trust is slow and an ongoing process. It's not about doing everything perfectly, but it is about showing up consistently, being accountable for your actions, and offering empathy for your child's experience. Trust can be rebuilt. It absolutely can. I'm proof of that. But it requires time, patience, and a deep commitment to understanding and healing. So, I believe I will leave it here for now. If you would like support in learning more about trust and how to reestablish this in a way that your adult child can receive it to help rebuild your relationship, and you are interested in one on one coaching, please feel free to reach out to me, theestrangedheart@gmail.com. And again, short recap, validation workshop, Sunday, October 13th. And the second round, or another round, not the second, it's the mini after that, um, round of estranged moms and or right recently reconciled moms support group that starts in November to help you get through the holidays. If you're interested in joining one of those groups, feel free to email me, theestrangedheart@gmail.com, and I'll get you on the list. Okay, I believe that is all for right now, and we'll leave it there. Until next time. This brings this episode to a close. I hope that this time together was time you feel well spent and that you are able to find some takeaway nuggets to help you on your journey, wherever you may be on your estrangement and reconciliation path. If you feel you've received something helpful or positive from this podcast, please consider following us, sharing this podcast with others, leaving a positive review, perhaps entertaining becoming a guest on our show, or following us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under the same name, The Estranged Heart. As a reminder, there is an online support group on Facebook. If you are a estranged mom who identifies as being spiritual and approaches estrangement with a sense of curiosity rather than blame and judgment, and desire to do inner self-work and reflection, please seek us out. We can be found at facebook.com/estranged mothers support group. And lastly, if you are an estranged parent or an estranged adult child and would like to have your story shared on the podcast, anonymously or not, please reach out to me via email at theestrangedheart@gmail.com.